Number 5. Rockabye Baby. I remember when I was young I liked this rhyme, but as I grew older I went back to this rhyme and couldn't believe the ending. Here's how the rhyme goes. Rockabye baby on the treetop, when the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bow breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby, cradle and all. So even before we get behind the theory of the history of this rhyme, the ending is shocking as the baby went down with the cradle and all. One interpretation of the rhyme says that it is about the son of King James II of England with Mary of Modena. They believed that the boy was not their son but a child who was switched in the birthing room and passed off as their own in order to ensure a Roman Catholic heir to the throne. Then a revolution happened, making the supposed changeling's life to fall. But linking the rhyme to that seems a bit far-fetched. Then there's the possible American roots of a young pilgrim who observed the Native American mothers suspending cradles from tree branches. So when the wind blew, the cradles would rock, and the babies in them would sleep. So we know what could happen when the branches do break. Another take on the rhyme involves the whole birthing situation. Rather than death for the baby at the end of the rhyme, it is more about life. In this theory, the tree is the mother, the wind is her contractions, the bow is when her water broke, and the cradle and all is the placenta. Interesting twist to make the death-ridden rhyme into a rhyme about life. Number 4. Humpty Dumpty. When we think of Humpty Dumpty, the first thing you think of is an egg-like person just sitting on a wall and fell, breaking its shell. But that was the workings of an illustration in a book from 1871 by Lewis Carroll called Through the Looking Glass. But the Humpty Dumpty rhyme is older than the book, and the egg was never even referenced in the rhyme at all. Rather than an egg, Humpty Dumpty was a weapon, a cannon to be precise. A cannon owned by the supporters of King Charles I, which was used to gain control over the city of Colchester during the English Civil War. So during the war, the cannon, Humpty Dumpty, was stationed on a church tower. The tower got destroyed by the opposing party with a barrage of cannonballs and sent Humpty Dumpty into the marshland below. When they retrieved the cannon, however, it was beyond repair, so they made a rhyme out of it, which the full version goes like this. In 1648, when England suffered pains of state, the Roundheads laid siege to Colchester town, where the king's men still fought for the crown. There, one-eyed Thompson stood on the wall, a gunner with the deadliest aim of all. From St. Mary's Tower the cannon he fired, Humpty Dumpty was his name. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again. Number 3. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. This popular English nursery rhyme that sounds harmless seems to be just talking about gardening, but there is a gruesome tale behind it. Though some do say that the silver bells did stood for Catholic cathedral bells, the cockle shells stood for the pilgrimage to Spain, and the pretty maids in a row stood for a row of nuns. But another theory is that it has to do with Queen Mary I of England, who is better known as Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary was popular with her persecution of Protestants due to her fierce belief in Catholicism. Now, this is how the rhyme goes. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. Though the last sentence are the one that has a lot of variations, with the oldest known published version of the rhyme goes like this. Mistress Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells, and so my garden grows. So the word contrary in the rhyme is just another way of saying different, weird, or even psychopath. The silver bells and cockle shells are actually torture devices, and the garden growing is how dead people were piling. Number 2. Jack and Jill. The rhyme goes like this. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Going uphill to find water is not something you'd normally do, but the rhyme has nothing to do with plain old water. The first interpretation of this rhyme came from the history of King Louis XVI and his Queen Marie Antoinette during the French Revolution, where King Louis was beheaded, thus lost his crown, and Marie Antoinette's came tumbling after. Another origin theory is that the rhyme came from the attempt by King Charles I to reform taxes on liquid measures. To understand this, a jack is around half a pint and Jill, or Jill, is around quarter pints. So he wanted to increase taxes due to greedy reasons. The parliament didn't agree to his suggestion, but they still made him profit by reducing the amount in a jack, with the tax remaining the same. So since the amount of a jack is reduced, consequently, a Jill would be reduced as well. Number 1. 3 Blind Mice. This is another Bloody Mary rhyme due to her reign. Rather than talking straight to the point, in fear of being punished, people must have talked in riddles to talk about the evil doings of the queen. The rhyme goes like this. 3 blind mice, 3 blind mice. See how they run, see how they run. They all ran after the farmer's wife, who cut off their tails with a carving knife. Did you ever see such a sight in your life? As 3 blind mice. Apparently, the rhyme talks about 3 Protestant bishops who were burnt at the stake by the Queen Bloody Mary. The bishops conspired to overthrow the queen but wasn't successful, which later caused their demise. Though they were not blinded, the blind mice were thought to be them blinded by the fact that they were Protestant. The rhyme only entered children's literature in 1842. Now, these are just theories on where the rhymes came from, so it might be true or just mere speculation. But thinking about it, maybe in 50 or 100 years from now, imagine what the Wheel and the Bus song might be interpreted by future theorists.